Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, December 20th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amitha Sharma in for Maya Trabulsi. The National Transportation Safety Board is investigating a plane crash in the middle of an East County neighborhood. Witnesses describe a fireball falling out of the sky, killing all 4 people on board. It was also captured by neighbors on security cameras. As KPBS reporter MG Perez shows us, it just missed nearby homes.
Oh my God.
This is the fiery aftermath of the plane crash along Pepper Drive. A destroyed Learjet in pieces, burning just feet away from homes.
When I looked over, I saw parts of the plane that were still on fire.
Caden Long and his father were among the first people to see the destruction in their East County neighborhood. They took cell phone video and pictures as they processed what was happening in front of them. Caden can still hear the terrifying sound.
If you were like too close to an airplane taking off or something, or landing, it was just very loud. The frequency of the noise just shook the whole house, turned off the power. It was creepy.
In the daylight, you can see the mangled mess left behind. The corporate plane, registered to Medjet LLC of El Cajon, was headed to Gillespie Field, but crashed just after 7 p.m. Monday evening, killing 4 people aboard. No one on the ground was hurt. The plane left John Wayne Airport in Orange County a short time before. Now a team from the National Transportation Safety Board will investigate what went wrong. The flight path to Gillespie Field leads pilots around 2 small mountains and through a short valley onto the runway. The path runs basically parallel to Pepper Drive, where residents say they are used to the air traffic.
Actually, I came out here, there were things exploding still.
Randy Began lives in a house perched on the side of one of those small mountains. He was home with his daughter and grandchildren when they heard the terrifying sound.
Well, I knew it was a plane. Yeah, we knew it was a plane just by the sound of it and just, you know, and then there's not a lot of things that can make a fireball that size.
Began describes the weather Monday evening as rainy with almost no visibility because of heavy fog. Here is air traffic control audio of the flight's final seconds.
Check any traffic lights for us a little bit more. They're at 100% now.
Shortly after the loud noise, the audio stops as the plane disintegrated on the street. The San Diego County Medical Examiner will identify the victims killed. Meanwhile, emergency crews continue the cleanup and support for residents affected by this horrific tragedy on Pepper Drive. MG Perez, KPBS News.
Tonight was going to be a big night for college football in San Diego with the Holiday Bowl in town. But last-minute COVID-19 cases among players means the game is not happening. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman is live in downtown with reaction.
Yeah, Amitha, tonight was supposed to be the Holiday Bowl's big downtown debut here at Petco Park, but just hours before the game started, the news came that fans were dreading and also local business owners. The game canceled again due to COVID-19, and you can see out here right now, game's supposed to be going on. Not a lot of activity down here at Petco Park. Some fans who flew in or drove down for this game are still here, and we saw some of them out in downtown earlier. UCLA and North Carolina State were supposed to be playing in this game, but officials say it's not happening because of COVID-19 protocols related to UCLA players. That sort of suggests an outbreak or a large exposure. Now, this was the first time that football would have been played at Petco Park, which is, of course, typically a baseball field. For years, the Holiday Bowl was over in Mission Valley, but with that stadium gone, some didn't even know if the game would continue to go on in San Diego. The bowl game is an economic driver for San Diego, especially during the winter when tourism usually drops off here. News broke of these cancellations just hours before kickoff. It left some fans and some business owners frustrated.
Sign of the times, really not too much I can do about it. Am I upset? Sure. Am I disappointed? Yes.
Folks that traveled on both teams, Decisions made, nothing you can do about it. Life goes on, you know?
I see all the work San Diego did. We looked in at the stadium last night. It's beautiful in there. It's so sad they did all that work, and now there's not going to be a game. So
sad for San Diego.
Yeah, sad for us, San Diego.
We flew into Las Vegas, spent the night in California, drove in the rest of the way, and found out on the way today. That's pretty disappointing.
I mean, I would have expected this place to be bumping like a sold-out Padre game, and I mean, this is, look around, man. I mean, the streets, in my opinion, they're dead.
Yeah, we also heard from some about how they feel bad for the organizers of the Holiday Bowl spending millions to try and make this event happen, and all this after it was canceled last year due to the pandemic. We also heard from some who say they were glad that officials are working to protect the players by canceling this game. Now, this game is scheduled to go on at Petco Park next year, so if you had tickets, also keep in mind officials here are telling us stay tuned. They're going to be releasing some information about how to get your refunds. Here in downtown, Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
The big game may be off, but the Holiday Bowl parade went on as planned. We'll take a look at the tradition's return coming up on Evening Edition. Today, San Diego County announced it is following new guidance from the CDC, cutting in half the time most people with COVID-19 have to isolate. It comes even as the county reports a dramatic surge in coronavirus cases and hospitalizations over the weekend. 2,367 cases were recorded today, following more than 2,600 yesterday and over 1,000 both Saturday and Sunday. Daryl Forges takes a closer look at the growing concerns nationwide over those changing protocols.
Mounting criticism after the CDC changes its isolation recommendations. Some frontline workers are raising concerns about the move.
This is not the time to be lessening. Our staffing concerns have not been addressed, and measures like this will make it worse instead of better.
On Monday, the CDC announced new guidelines saying people testing positive for COVID-19 only need to stay home for 5 days if they don't have symptoms, and if they wear a mask around others for at least 5 more days, or if their symptoms improve over that time.
If you are asymptomatic and you are infected, we want to get people back to the jobs, particularly those with essential jobs.
The move comes as Omicron cases around the country surge. The U.S. has a 7-day average of more than 237,000 new daily COVID-19 cases, according to data from Johns Hopkins University. And CDC and HHS data shows that pediatric hospitalizations are up nearly 35% nationwide in just the past week.
This Omicron variant is such a game changer in terms of its high transmissibility. It's like this big virus blizzard. That's why you're seeing so many kids getting infected.
Some airline workers are also criticizing the CDC's new guidelines, even as they deal with an Omicron-fueled surge in COVID-19 cases that led to crew shortages and flight disruptions.
How they are going to implement this to make sure that it is only for people who are asymptomatic who are coming back to work, so that people are not forced to come back to work when they're still sick.
Daryl Forges, KPBS News.
Rapid at-home COVID tests are in high demand right now, and pharmacies can't keep them stocked. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorin headed out to see what stores are experiencing.
Last week, Palomar Medical Supplies in Oceanside started getting daily calls asking for rapid COVID tests. Chris Valverde, who works at the store, tried to place an order to get some tests in stock. Problem is, tests are on back order.
They don't have a date right now for them. We can't get them right now. They're in short supply because they're in high demand. They have estimated availabilities of January and December, but those are just estimated dates. They're not available dates as far as we can get them right now if we were to order them.
Large pharmacies are experiencing the same problems. Signs on doors inform customers that rapid COVID tests are out of stock. This Rite Aid in Oceanside only had one test left for sale. Adam Morisoli is a pharmacist at the Carlsbad Village Pharmacy.
The rapid COVID tests have just been unavailable. We get small little orders here and there, and they're gone within a half an hour or so. We get about 50 requests or so a day just on the phone, and then probably another 20 or so coming in the store. So just lots of requests for them and unavailable.
Morisoli expects more tests this week, but doesn't know for certain if they will arrive. He hopes the government will provide some support with rapid tests to meet the demand.
You know, people that are actually sick and needing them. We've had quite a few of those, and then the other of just people being kind of courteous to their family and friends before they get together, making sure that they're not active cases.
Lines at testing centers are also still very long, and results are sometimes delayed. This has some people turning to their community and Facebook groups, hoping to locate a rapid COVID test. KPBS heard from a few people who use social media to find neighbors willing to lend COVID tests, but those people were too sick to do interviews. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
The person behind the Shabbat Poway shooting received a second life sentence in federal court today. KPBS reporter Steve Walsh says it's the last chapter in the 2019 Synagogue killing.
22-year-old John Timothy Ernest admitted to killing 60-year-old Lori Gilbert Kay and injuring 3 others in the April 27, 2019 shooting. According to a manifesto he published just prior to the killing, Ernest wanted to kill Jews. Kay's older sister, Ellen Edwards, spoke at the sentencing.
You killed because she was Jewish. Why? I cannot even imagine what someone could have done to you to turn you into such a monster. Lori is no longer here, but her spirit lives on in the memory of those who loved her dearly.
Others described being in the temple when the gunman burst in. Prosecutors read statements from the 2 children injured in the attack. Kay's daughter Hannah called this the last chapter in the attack that killed her mother. U.S. Attorney for the Southern District, Randy Grossman.
The defendant targeted his victims because he hated the Jewish community and Muslim community. Hatred that has no place in our society.
Ernest was 19 years old when it happened. In September, he was sentenced to life in prison in state court. Ernest pleaded guilty to 113 counts in federal court, including an arson fire at a mosque in Escondido. The judge sentenced him to life plus 30 years. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
Attorney General Merrick Garland issued a statement saying all people deserve to live and worship peacefully. He added that the Department of Justice stands with Jewish and Muslim community members, rejects hate in all forms, and is committed to prosecuting bias-motivated violence to the fullest extent. Overdue changes to CAL FIRE's maps of wildfire hazards could put more of the San Diego region in the red. iNews Source reporter Camille Von Cannell explains that could come at a cost.
The maps trigger requirements for builders and residents to make homes more fire resistant by taking steps such as installing ember-resistant vents or clearing vegetation. The maps were last developed in 2007. CAL FIRE's update will do more to factor in winds, which will likely expand the zones. That could add building costs at a time when housing is scarce. But Lakeside Fire Chief Donald Butts said it's worth it.
I mean, we all know we can't get away from disasters, but what we can do is increase our resiliency, our community's resiliency, and our individual homes resiliency.
CAL FIRE is expecting to start rolling out the new maps in early 2022. For KPBS, I'm iNews Source reporter Camille Von Cannell.
iNews Source is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. Nearly 3 months after an oil spill off the Orange County coast, the organization in charge of the cleanup says the beaches are back to normal. KPBS reporter Melissa May has the details.
On October 2nd, a large oil pipeline owned by Amplify Energy Corporation released over 24,000 gallons of oil into the ocean off the coast of Orange County. Today, the Unified Command, led by the U.S. Coast Guard, California Department of Fish and Wildlife Office of Spill Prevention and Response, Orange County, San Diego County, and Amplify Energy Corporation, announced the shoreline affected by the oil spill has been restored to its original condition. The Unified Command has signed off 69 shoreline segments out of 107 total, covering approximately 190 miles of Southern California shoreline. The spill response now goes into a transitional period, with monitoring for tar balls and any more oil. The oiled sand and debris are being disposed of in a special landfill designed for petroleum-contaminated material. The pipeline remains shut down, and there is an ongoing investigation into the cause of the oil spill. Melissa May, KPBS News.
Lake Tahoe just broke a record set a half-century ago. This month, more snow fell there than in any December ever. The UC Berkeley Central Sierra Snow Lab has been recording snowfall in the area since 1879. Yesterday, it recorded 39 inches in snowfall over a 24-hour period. That brought the total snowfall for December to 193.7 inches.
Moving ahead, we're looking to stay unsettled with daily rain chances in the lower terrain and in the mountains. We're talking about snow chances. That looks to remain through the end of the work week. And then heading into the weekend, some improvements are on the way, but temperature-wise, we're still going to remain cool and below average for this time of year. We have windstorm watches that have been posted again across some of the higher terrain here in anticipation of more snow to pile up in some of the mountains. Moving through tonight, you'll notice the rain continues near the coast a little bit further inland. Once you get into the higher terrain, though, it's all about the snow showers that could be mixing in with a little bit of rain through the overnight period. Heading into the day tomorrow, we're going to start it off on a chilly note. Temperatures down into the 40s in Escondido, 40 out towards Ramona, 47 in El Cajon, getting down into the 20s in the mountains. And then during the day, it really doesn't warm up a whole lot. We get up into the mid-50s in El Cajon, mid-50s in Chula Vista, San Diego getting up to about 60 degrees with more rain likely to continue. And this pattern stays with us from Wednesday into Thursday. It does look like the heaviest of the rain stays north of San Diego, likely impacting Los Angeles, but in San Diego, we're still going to see some rain chances over the next couple of days. Again, Wednesday, Thursday, perhaps even a couple lingering showers early in the day on Friday, but things should be improving throughout the day Friday. You'll notice temperatures as we head into the weekend really don't warm up even as that sunshine does make a return. Further inland, same story here. Rain likely to last all the way through Friday, and then after that, sunshine returning. Temperatures upper 50s to maybe low 60s by the end of the weekend. In the mountains, snow mixing in with some rain Wednesday, Thursday, maybe some icing concerns out there Friday. Heading into the weekend, upper 30s to low 40s with more in the way of sunshine. And in the deserts, not seeing much in the way of rain showers here. Plenty of clouds, though, and temperatures looking to stay in the upper 50s to low 60s over the next several days. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Jessica Pash.
John Madden, a Hall of Fame football coach and iconic broadcaster, has died. The NFL says Madden died unexpectedly this morning and did not provide a cause. As a coach for the Oakland Raiders, he led his team to victory in the Super Bowl after the 1976 season. Later, he became an even bigger figure in the NFL, providing a weekly soundtrack to games for 3 decades. John Madden was 85 years old. While the Holiday Bowl football game was canceled, the parade marched on as planned this morning. Padres fans even got a special treat with a familiar face leading the parade as Grand Marshal. KPBS reporter Alexandra Rangel has more.
San Diego Padres pitcher Joe Musgrove says leading this year's Holiday Bowl parade is an honor.
Being from San Diego, this is something that we look forward to every winter. You know, watching the parade on TV at home and then going to the games, or catching the game in a bar with some buddies. So it's cool to kind of be inside the workings of it and getting to be a little more involved this year.
The parade was canceled last year due to COVID. This year, it continued as planned.
The challenges this year, a little bit of weather challenge, but as long as it's not high winds, it's easy for us to do a parade.
Chairman of the parade, Marvin Hines, says the parade balloons are the highlight of the show. Every year, they make sure to have more balloons than the annual Macy's Thanksgiving parade.
The largest balloon parade in the country. We have 25 balloons scheduled. We have 11 bands. We have 30 to 35 specialty units of baton twirlers and military vehicles and things like that.
Local high school bands and community dance and cultural groups marched all the way down Harbor Drive as the crowd cheered them on. North Carolina State and UCLA's marching band also performed at the parade. This was before the news that the game had been canceled. Despite the wet and cold temperatures, the parade brought crowds of locals and tourists.
First parade my son's ever seen, so we figured it'd be a good time to come down and see what it's all about.
It's been beautiful.
Yeah, the rain's really been working with us, not just messed any plans up at all yet.
Alexandra Rangel, KPBS News.
In recent weeks, KPBS has reported that some local cities won't be ready for a new food composting law. Still, it's going forward. Samia Kamal from Cal Matters explains why it's coming to California in 2022.
Let's talk trash, California. This state has long fashioned itself as a planet protector, but in 2022, it's taking it to a new level. 2 new laws aim to stop you from throwing food away in your regular garbage and stop products from carrying this symbol when they aren't really recyclable. My name is Samia Kamal, and I'm a reporter for Cal Matters. I'm going to explain the new laws in 1 minute. You know those leftovers and table scraps you've been tossing away? All that food and yard waste winds up here, filling half of California's landfills. And as it decays without oxygen, it releases greenhouse gases. Under a new law, you have to put leftovers in organic waste bins. That way, cities and counties can turn them into compost and even make energy from them. And this symbol on things like yogurt cups and berry containers, while they technically might be recyclable, in the real world, they're not. In fact, at least 85% of California's single-use plastics wind up in landfills. Soon, a state agency will determine which products deserve to carry the recyclable symbol, although packagers have a couple of years to comply. Environmentalists push for the law. The plastics industry warns it will just raise costs. Learn more at calmatters.org.
As we wrap up 2021, we're revisiting some of our best feature reporting. This fall, the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance did something no other North American zoo has managed to do. Wildlife specialists helped hatch an endangered Egyptian vulture. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson takes us inside their exhibit.
Daisy Rivas walks between large wired enclosures in a quiet area on the eastern edge of the San Diego Zoo Safari Park.
Hi guys, good morning.
This off-exhibit area is home to a pair of striking white vultures. The male, with fluffy white plumage, sits on a perch surveying Rivas. The female on the ground, but at a distance.
They are such special vultures. They're the only tool-using vultures, so they're very smart birds. They use rocks to break open ostrich eggs. They take a lot of the different parts of the carcass that larger birds can't get to. So they just play a really important part in the ecosystem.
Interaction like this is limited because Rivas wants the birds to keep their healthy distrust of people. In fact, much of the monitoring happens inside a shed out of the bird's sight. There's a cabinet with video screens that monitor all the enclosures.
So we have the opportunity to look at a lot of the birds' behavior without disturbing them too much. So we actually have cameras on a lot of our nesting areas. So this is a great view of our nesting area for the breeding pair of Egyptian vultures.
An elevated square box serves as a nest. The birds typically clear a flat, rocky area to lay an egg. Inside the plywood shelter, there is a barrier that can keep the eggs from falling. The nest is screened from a pair of territorial palm nut vultures that are in the next enclosure.
But it's also good for them to not be able to see these guys when they're sitting so that they don't get distracted. But they can see them anywhere else they're perching, and they can make sure they're protecting the area from the other birds nearby.
The mating pair has done something not accomplished before in North America. They produced and fertilized an egg, which hatched earlier this year. The park's lead condor care specialist, Ron Webb, showed us the trailer where the endangered chick was puppet fed. Jamila, as she's been named, was brought to this feeding station in a small white bowl filled with snuggly animal hair. Those faint squeaks told keepers that she was hungry and ready to eat.
We have the one-way windows in here, so as long as this light's on and this light's off, she can't see us, and we can see her.
The feedings started with a simple sock puppet and a pair of tweezers.
Old world vultures tend to take more food directly from the parents' beaks. They'll eat through regurgitation, but they also take little bits. So we do actually pick up pieces of food and hand it to the chick.
As the bird grew, the sock puppet was replaced by a more realistic one that staff used to care for condor chicks.
When they're young, it's easy. When they get older, they start pulling on them and yanking, and like they do with a parent's skin in the nest box.
That tiny tan chick is now fully fledged and a bit nervous with human visitors. Jamila grabs the fence and pumps her wings as if to let everyone know this is her territory. Her dark brown plumage, by the way, will eventually become white like her parents. The vulture's arrival is being cheered by international conservation groups.
Yes, it is very welcome to have a broader network of zoos that have that species and can potentially provide birds for release programs.
Stefan Oppel is a conservation scientist for the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds. He says more than half of the vulture's population has been lost to hunting, poison, and electrocution in the last 40 years. Captive breeding only happens in a handful of locations in Europe and Israel, and those efforts produce a small number of birds each year. The population continues falling in parts of Europe and Africa, but there are conservation successes.
In southern France and in northern Spain and on the Canary Islands, intensive conservation programs have actually managed to reverse the fortune of the Egyptian vulture by working very closely with communities, by changing the way we build electricity infrastructure.
Different types of bugs with calcium.
And while it's tough to help correct the challenges the birds are facing in the wild half a world away, Rivas hopes the breeding effort in San Diego will grow here and expand to other North American zoos. She says that'll strengthen the species' chances for survival. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us and have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.